The 5 largest corporations in America today are Standard Oil of New Jersey, General Motors, Ford Motors, United States Steel, and Saucony Mobile Oil. Do you know that the Roman Catholic Church owns more in just real estate than all 5 together? Do you know that the Roman Catholic Church owns more in just real estate than all 5 of these corporations with all of this together? Do you know that the state of Pennsylvania put a tax on horse racing, and the entire proceeds of the tax on horse racing in the state of Pennsylvania, which accumulated during the year, was given specifically and directly and only to the Roman Catholic Church, and other church schools were refused that money for busing programs? Do you know that the churches in America own 27% of all privately owned land? Do you know that the state of Maryland last year put a tax on cigarettes, that money to be given to the Roman Catholic Church for their parochial school busing? Do you know that last year the state of Ohio granted the churches in Ohio $50 million for textbooks? That buys a hell of a lot of books on catechism. Do you know that after the moon mission that the Pope issued through the official Vatican paper an announcement that it was the duty of the government soon to put missionaries on those flights? To convert other life forms You know, we just went into court, in the federal district court in Austin, Texas, demanding that the astronauts do not proceed to attempt to fly missions as missionaries in outer space and to read the Bible and to recite prayers. At the time of the very first recitation on Christmas Eve, the astronauts and the Manned Space Center put out this beautiful little word picture, and I think you all remember it. They said, as that spaceship swung around the dark side of the moon and started to come back towards the Earth, the astronauts were overwhelmed by a spontaneous manifestation of religious awe, at which time they started to recite the Genesis. I have since found out that this whole thing was carefully pre-planned, something like 2.5 months in advance in Washington, D.C., the code name given to it was Experiment P. And the astronauts were told to have this spontaneous feeling of religious awe. At 7:31 p.m. plus 10 seconds, and it was printed onto the flight plan. And then those dumb bastards read from Genesis, which is part of the Torah, which is the Jewish book, and instead of saying, Happy Hanukkah, kids, they said, Merry Christmas. I mean, how dumb can you get? They should have been reading from the New Testament if they were going to do that, because after all, the Jews are still waiting for the Messiah, and they were celebrating Hanukkah and not Christmas. So there are a number of very peculiar things in relationship to this that are very frightening. And incidentally, when we subpoenaed the 6 astronauts and we subpoenaed the flight records, you should have seen how fast we were thrown out of court. It took 24 hours. So we were thrown out of court day before yesterday, the federal district court, and we now are perfecting our appeal, and we're going to appeal this to the United States Supreme Court in order to coerce them to bring in this flight plan and show their spontaneous manifestation in court.